again, this is Joe Rataski from the Elementary Math Department, here for part 2 of our e-learning planning tutorial. Hopefully you have viewed the video for tutorial part 1 on our Math Smarts PD. It looks like this. Part 1 dealing with the whole group Zoom lesson aspect of planning. If you haven't, you want to make sure you watch that. So the whole group aspect was highlighted in orange. We see on our e-learning structure. That was the 30-minute whole group Zoom lesson. We'll now be looking at part 2, the independent purposeful practice, which is going to be the second 30 minutes that students will experience of their e-learning math. We do see this small group that is also part of that 30 minutes. That will be part 3 of our tutorial. Other than the 30-minute whole group lesson that students are having, they will also have 30 minutes of independent purposeful practice if they're not in a small group. A lot of the purposeful practice can consist of iReady or any of the Savvis, Envision, Realize work. You also may see quizzes that are created in Canvas that pertain to the student workbooks from Envision, or perhaps some created materials as well. So we'll take a look at a couple of those examples, what they look like on the guides and what they look like in Canvas. So let's switch over to our GCG guide here. So you'll remember in part 1, we went over the orange, the whole group, where you can get those lessons and overviews. Of course, the learning steps were highlighted, but those are going to carry across as well all the way. We've done our whole group Zoom lesson, let's say on Monday. That was GCG 1, step 1. Now we're looking at planning for the purposeful practice for students. And keep in mind, we're probably talking about definitely not the first week of school. Your purposeful practice is going to look a little bit different in the first week and maybe even the second week as well. We're talking about once we're really getting rolling here. For step 1, after we've done the lesson, we'll want to assign something for the students to do in their independent time. When you look at the GCG in this column for purposeful practice, you'll notice 2 icons. One is the little computer icon here, and the other is the book icon. So the book icon is going to be anything that would be print, probably things that you'd be using brick and mortar when we're back in the classroom, hopefully sooner than later. But you will see times where something might have both a book and a computer icon. So what that means is we see that's Envision lesson 4.1. Here in this example, it's giving you a page and giving you a couple of problems, and another page, another couple of problems. Why there's a computer icon means that we have created a quiz in Canvas that will basically assess the work that students are doing in the book. So here you have a choice that if you'd rather the students work on something in their book, but we want to hold them accountable, and how can we see exactly what they're doing in the book? Now we understand there is an option, students could do something on paper, hold it up to the screen. That is something that we could do, but we don't know what all students are going to have technology-wise. Maybe they have a computer, maybe they don't. Maybe they can't figure out how to get the camera going, or maybe they don't want the camera on. So we're giving you some alternate choices for students to be able to work in the book and still check for their understanding. In the beginning, it's starting. There's something new, so we're getting used to it. You won't see as many, but you'll see as we roll. I'm talking about Unit 2 here. As we're rolling down through Unit 2, you're going to see them more often. And in the future, we're looking at more interactive quizzes, perhaps even Nearpod to use assessment. So we're trying to make it very student-friendly and a bit more engaging for the students. So there's more to come. This is just what is here now with Unit 1 and Unit 2. And of course, anything you can do, whether it be through Canvas, Nearpod, whatever other technology aspect you're comfortable with, definitely go ahead and take advantage of that and be very creative. Let's go back up to step 1 here. This is one of our easier ones that we could integrate, is iReady, and we've got the lesson add 2-digit numbers, which is a late first grade. So we're going to go jump over to Canvas and see what that looks like. So let's say I am choosing that one for my students' purposeful practice on Monday. Copy that over to my planning sheet. Let's go to Canvas. Again, I'll remind you, I just have a second grade sample course that I created. So it might look a little bit different than your course, but that's all right. I have downloaded the Unit 2 module from Commons. I've published the module, and I've unchecked anything I don't want my students to be able to access. Now we're looking at GCG 1, Step 1, Purposeful Practice. The iReady lesson, add 2-digit numbers. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice that that is input in Canvas as an assignment, so that can be added to students' assignment list. The iReady slide, very, very simple. It tells you you're going to be looking for this add 2-digit number lesson. It instructs them they're going to log into iReady, choose the teacher-assigned iReady lesson titled Add 2-digit numbers. And it won't show here, but when students have their view, this icon is actually just a link that students can click on, and it's going to bring them right to iReady. Another option is over here. There's an iReady link that will bring students right through Clever and into iReady and have them logged in. But once they get into iReady, they're going to look for this lesson. But guess what? That's a teacher-assigned lesson, right? Make sure before you're assigning any of these iReady lessons to students, you're logging into iReady and you're making sure that these lessons you want them doing are assigned. And you will follow the same process to assign. You can go into Edit, and we're scrolling down and looking for adding the students in, the date it's available, etc., etc. One important thing you might want to change is this submission type. By default, it's going to have this online selection. That's going to keep reminding students that they need to do something or turn something in, even though they're doing the iReady lesson, and you're going to check that data separate in iReady. So you're going to want to turn that to no submission when you assign it to students. So that way all they have to do is do the assignment. And pick your date that you want to assign, pick your time, when it's available, etc. And then hit save, and it's ready to go. Anywhere you see iReady, so in our GCG2, we would have a very similar type slide that's there, instructing them on where to go. All you need to do is assign that in iReady, assign it in Canvas. Students are ready to go. So let me roll that one into my Tuesday as well. I want my students working on that for Purposeful Practice. I'm going to skip over this Envision, the book practice quiz for right now. I'm going to jump down to Step 3. Where we have an interactive practice buddy or a quick check. That is your Savvis, formerly Pearson, Realize, that aligns with Envision. Those are the practice buddy and quick checks that students can work on in Realize. Very similar to the iReady, we have a slide that will show them, click here, this is a lesson that you're looking for. But again, just like with iReady, that needs to be assigned by the teacher before students go in. Let's look at Step 3 in Canvas and see what this looks like in Canvas. I'm back to Canvas in my module view. We saw that was GCG 1, Step 1, the iReady. We're skipping Step 2 for right now. Looking at Step 3, GCG 1, Step 3, we see Purposeful Practice is the Pearson Practice Buddy. So let's see what that looks like. We have a similar type slide. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different because we've got the Realize. It has a link on here for students to just click when they're ready to go. It walks them through the 3 steps they need to do. Open up Realize, click on Classes, go to Assignments, and go to the Practice Buddy and complete it. And it will show them you're going to do the 4-1, Lesson 4-1 Practice Buddy. When they're ready to go, they click here. Now, as students see this, when it's student facing, it is going to be animated, so each of these will pop up in order. Again, be sure that you are going in to Realize before students are accessing, and that you're assigning this lesson. With Realize, you're going to have an option to access Realize through Canvas. You can use the link off to the side or a link on the slide. We're back to our GCG. That was for Step 3. I was kind of jumping ahead of myself. That's all right. I am thinking that it is probably easier to look at those for right now before we look at one of our quiz options. So let's go back to Step 2 and check out one of these newer options that we have here. So we're looking at Lesson 4-1, the independent practice page 139, problem 7, problem 11, and then page 140, problem 15, problem 16. If I was choosing to do this, probably as I'm wrapping up the whole group lesson, I'm going to let students know that you're going to be working in your book. You can go ahead and write in your book, record on paper, whatever you want to do. But basically, you're going to do your work in your book first, and then you're going to go into Canvas and take a quiz on the work that you did in your book. So back to module view, GCG 1, step 2. Scrolling down, I see here was my iReady option. Now you could choose to assign that and this, maybe one, maybe the other, it's up to you. But let's see what this looks like in Canvas. So this is actually in the format of a quiz. And I'm going to click edit so we can see a little bit more. Remember, all of this, once you download from Commons into your module, you can edit, you can change anything, delete, you can create your own as you become more comfortable with it, whatever you'd like to do. So essentially this first page is going to be a slide that is embedded that has directions on what students were doing. So remember we said there's 2 pages, a couple of problems that you're going to work on. Here it's showing the students the pages in their book, what it looks like, and it's identified the problems for them to work on. Like I said, of course they're going out, they're going to work on that in their book, and then they're going to log into Canvas to take this quiz. Let's take a preview and check it out and see what it looks like as a student view. As a student logs in, this is similar to the view they would see. On the top, we're going to have this, what we'll call directions pages. That's always going to be there, that slide reminding them what they're working on. And then below, they will see their questions. In this case, here's problem 7 from that page. This type was chosen to be an input your answer page. So here students would input their answer to type in their solution. When they're done, they're going to click next. And they'll repeat and cycle through each of the problems. For this quiz, all of these are going to be the text box. But there are other options in quizzes such as multiple choice, multi-select. There's some other cool options like a hotspot image that you'll start to see in some of the future quizzes as well. And we'll see we have our 4 problems, the 4 questions from the page, and then at the end of all of those problems is a self-assessment. So this is going to look a little bit different depending on the grade level, depending on the work done. But essentially, this last slide is almost always going to be a rate yourself, giving the students the correct answers. They can check, see how they did, and then rate themselves from A, B, or C. Might look a little bit different at grade level, like I said, but basically, how they feel that they are doing. So you'll be able to access that data through Canvas as a teacher to see how students were doing on that book work that they had done for independent practice. I'm back to the GCG document. Again, here's the Purposeful Practice column. I highlighted in green. It won't be green when you open up the document. You will notice your evidence of learning row at the bottom gives us some options, and it's going to include basically those options for electronic purposeful practice that they had. That is part of our evidence of learning. If we are assigning the iReady lessons, we are assigning any of the realized lessons, you do want to make sure you're going back in from the teacher view, you're checking out that data to see how the students are doing. That is a good way to collect data and start to make instructional decisions for the future. If you're assigning any of the quizzes in Canvas, then that would be another data point that you could check out as well. Don't forget, on the second page, or the page after all of our resources, don't forget the notes, the teacher guidance notes. Again, these are just recommendations on how you could use some of those purposeful practice resources. Remember our whole group that we did in orange down here? I've highlighted here day 1, step 1, our purposeful practice notes in green for day 2, step 2, day 3, step 3. And those days might change based on the estimated number of days for the GCG as well. Back to the GCG. Again, this column, these are just suggestions for right now. As we progress through e-learning, we'll have additional resources, we'll be learning more, we'll become more comfortable with the technology at our disposal. So look for additional quizzes, things like Nearpod, anything to make it more engaging and interactive for students. And as I said before, anything that you're able to bring to the table for your students, go ahead and do that. Anything that you've got, resources, technology, etc. I'm sure if you were watching this video, you at some point were able to get to our Math Smarts PD YouTube page. But if you have not, you may want to visit that, subscribe. Again, here's that part 1 that you wanted to look at, and be on the lookout for part 3 to follow. Thank you very much.